one of the crew noticed that when any of us walked in and out of a room, we would kiss the mezuzah that's on the doorpost. And, they were like, I guess, mumbling between themselves. And then one had the charisma, the guts to ask me. And I explained to them what a mezuzah is and the shmirah, the watch, the blessing. It applies to a home, literally tears in their eyes. They're like, and you have this on every door? I go, yeah, in my house. And look around, you see, even they couldn't believe that.
Good morning and welcome to Jew in the City Speaks with your host, Allison Josephs, also known as Jew in the City. We talk about Jewish representation a lot on this show. We talk about the representation of Orthodox Jews as part of our founding mission, because Jew in the City was founded to change people's perceptions of Orthodox Jews. At this point, in terms of media, we have a lot of negative Israeli representation. That's kind of mostly what we're seeing in the world today. But the representation around Jewish traditions and people that wear the garb never actually got much better. Despite our years of working, we've made some small progress over time, but there's still so many forces against us. With us today, we have the CEO and co-founder of Popinsanity, Aaron Zutler. He was recently on a reality show called The Fixer. It's kind of like a Shark Tank-esque type of show in that there is a billionaire that maybe wants to buy a business, and as the title implies, he helps them fix it. And this was a show featuring all Orthodox Jews.
I wonder if that's
I'm really nervous.
Shalom, Rav. Welcome. It's nice to see you. Come on. Let me have your coat.
Okay. How are you? I'm Marcus.
Marcus, hello.
Nice to meet you, Rabbi.
Nice to meet you too.
This is a real privilege for me. I'm a little nervous, so I apologize.
I'm no nervous.
No, I'm very nervous. Rabbi, who's the leader of the business?
It's a joke to say as I am the leader. I'm not the leader,
So my concern and what I would like your help with is, I see Jonathan as the engine, and he'll do anything and everything to get the results. I see Aaron as more of a people person. He's a little more empathetic. He doesn't get upset. I see Jacob as the roots of the tree, making sure that it's rooted in its foundation without compromise.
מאוד נכון.
He says it's very correct.
Did I get it right?
Very correct.
Yes. Okay. When you take those three, it works, but somebody still has to be the ultimate leader in a business.
כן, אני חושב שצריך בכל עסק, צריך להיות סוליסט אחד שמנגן.
He said in every business there has to be one soloist.
But who should the leader be? Who should be
אני
the
חושב
face of the
שאתם
company?
צריכים, אתם מכירים את עצמכם הכי טוב. אם לא תצליחו, אני אעשה אותם.
We should decide amongst ourselves, and if we can't come with a decision, you need to speak to me.
If we can't agree, then he'll give his opinion.
חבל שאני לא מדבר את השפה שלו.
He said if you spoke the same language, he would love to spend time talking to you.
I'm always available, and I love to learn.
Okay, I love to learn.
And I have to say, it was quite good. And reality television often does not represent anyone quite well. So we are here today to talk to Aaron about how this happened, what went down, maybe how the needle is continuing to move forward for Orthodox representation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Allison, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Love what you do, and you should continue bringing this type of awareness. It's really phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. And again, it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. It's an honor to talk to you. I love your popcorn, and I want to thank Popinsanity for being sponsors for our Sundance panels, for our Jewish Media Awards. It's businesses like yours that help a small organization like ours look even more impressive than we should be. So people should go out and try your popcorn. It's amazing. It's a Shabbos treat and a treat whenever you're in the mood for a treat. So let's talk about, how did this happen? You're, a bunch of Orthodox Jews running your business out of Monsey, and now you're on a reality TV show. So how did this idea come about?
That's a loaded question. Probably back in, I want to say October, we received an email about from a production, I believe a West Coast-based production company. Didn't give too much information, but they did say that it was for a new show that's a pre-production for a show with starring the business guru, business entrepreneur, the entrepreneur Marcus Lemonis, who is a favorite of mine because I've followed him for years on his previous show that ran 8 seasons called The Prophet. And I just love the way it's not only about business. Sometimes you speak to a lawyer, they speak legalese. Sometimes you speak to a doctor and you speak to a businessman, same thing. He has a way of talking about business and explaining business and its challenges in a very, very easy to understand. And he also has a tremendous talent of connecting with the people. So he takes everything. I kind of just like his style of approaching business. When I saw his name, I said, this is interesting. And it was a process, obviously, to engage and, for them to find out more about the company and the people who own the company and everybody that's involved. And it was quite a process, something that, as you can imagine, of this level, required a lot. Literally, from beginning, when we first reached out, all the people and phases of groups of people that we've met along the way have been an absolute pleasure, professional, and fantastic. So it really started from an inquiry into the office, and there was an engagement, and there was a process, and it was quite a ride.
So reality television usually does not make its subjects look very good. They often need a villain, they need drama. In a lot of shows, even like if there's a panel of judges, one is the mean guy. Did you have any fears, not just being on a reality show, but being on a reality show representing Judaism? Because even if we don't want to, when we wear Jewish articles of clothing, we automatically become representatives.
Allison, that's an excellent question. And the reason why it's such an excellent question is because that was such a major part of our decision, taking all of those what ifs and what nots and what the end result and how will we be portrayed. And once it's done, obviously, edits and spins and angles, it's television. And it was quite a conversation and quite a decision. As you saw in the episode, often, specifically when it's a monumental decision or a major change or something big that's going on in the company, we really discuss it amongst ourselves. If it's a financial thing, we talk to our accountants. If it's a legal thing, we obviously talk to a lawyer. But in this particular case, we felt that we wanted to reach out to our rabbi and discuss all the pros, the cons, the ramifications, and such. And it was a major concern of mine and my partners, Jacob and Jonathan, as to how this all works and how do we make sure that we're shown in a very good light. And as the process went on, they realized that we were Orthodox religious Jews from New York, and I was looking for it. I was looking for potential attitude or body language or something, and I'm happy to say that I was made to feel very comfortable. Matter of fact, they were very respectful about, I had to stipulate that there's no, of course, filming on the Shabbat. There's no filming on any of the Jewish holidays. And they were so concerned to make sure, the kosher food for the crew and all of that. So it was a very comforting initial feeling. But one thing we all did keep in mind, that when you're in a reality TV scenario and it's live and you can't just, get rid of that, I'll do this again. You really do have to be very careful what you say and how you say it. And filming for so many weeks and hours, and it's a lot. And you can't always be 1,000% on. You could be on for an hour or two and watch every syllable, but it was quite the task to make sure that questions were answered respectfully. And because sometimes, you're having a business decision and you feel one way or the other way or something. And we really tried our best. I mean, we are decent, respectful people. It's not like it was like very difficult to do, but on a serious note, you do have to think about, yeah, you just said it in passing, but that can be a soundbite, that can be an edit, that can be in the final mix. So
Also, I think another thing to keep in mind is that when someone might be critiquing your business, critiquing your baby, you could get sensitive. It could get a little bit heated. And so, figuring out how to respond in a way that kind of defends your decision or how you run things with still sounding respectful, I totally hear the challenge. One thing I want to call out, there is a point without giving too much away. There's a point where Marcus points out that he thinks that you guys didn't sort of run the business correctly or, kind of handle one of your colleagues correctly. And you take the opportunity to apologize. It was something that I think you had a bit of a blind spot about and didn't recognize the importance of. And Marcus calls it out and you hear him and you make the adjustment. And then you use that moment to apologize to your colleague, which I thought was fabulous because at the end of the day, being a religious Jew includes eating kosher food, keeping Shabbos, praying, but it's also about being a mensch. At its core, the Torah on one foot, Hillel tells the prospective proselyte that, the Torah on one foot is what is hurtful to you, don't do to your neighbor. And so you modeled that type of behavior on the show, and I'm really glad it got in.
thank you. It's an interesting point that you make. And I just took it as that's what I need to do. And yet you translated it, and you explained it in the way you did. That's what I'm saying. It's so important. You can't really always estimate or understand how people are going to take things and digest things and understand things. And just that little example, that has not even been brought up to me in the past, quite honestly. And it's a very interesting point. Yeah, there were many points in the filming of this wonderful experience it was just so vast. There were amazing emotional conversations that we had about life, about family, about business. There were inspirational. I mean, there was so many different types of moods and potential reactions, whether it be a heated business going over financials or whether it would be other part of the program. It was one part that you brought up, which was, the Kiddush Hashem and the concern that we had. The other part of it, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, is having business conversations on sensitive topics and financial conversations that typically you don't have in a public forum. So these were our two major considerations, if you will, that took the most bandwidth to really decide whether or not this is something or this isn't something we should pursue. And I'm glad we did.
I love, and this is in the promo, your rabbi comes in from a visit from Israel. It's such a sweet moment when you're sitting around the table. He has so much chen, which is, it works very well in Hebrew in terms of like
charisma,
yeah.
Sweetness.
He has a sweetness and a gentleness to him. He is speaking Hebrew, which, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is sort of like a whole category that's being vilified right now. He looks, Haredi, ultra-Orthodox, which has always been vilified.
Right.
He brings so much humanity to it. Marcus, it's also so lovely to see that he's nervous to meet the rabbi. You would think that, kind of regular non-famous people are nervous to meet the rich guy, nervous to meet the star. But Marcus being nervous to meet the rabbi kind of gives this sense that there is this kavod, there's this respect that is being given and that he understands that he's in the presence of someone great. And usually rabbis on television, scripted television, are oh yo 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 yeah, and like very cartoonish and caricatured. And to get to see the respect that you all have from him and his wisdom, and his gentleness and his kindness, it was a rare moment on television. So I don't know if there's anything about that scene that you can share with us, but that was just kind of worked out that he was visiting when you were filming, right?
Yeah, that particular day was, from everything that I've been involved through this process, that was my most meaningful and my favorite couple of hours for so many reasons. And I will tell you that initially the rabbi concept came up because, Marcus had certain questions, and we said that we yield to our rabbi in certain particular cases. And from his expression, like, your rabbi, like your rabbi is the chairman of the board. I said, I guess you can call it that, but that's the way we operate. He's there. We don't initially really talked about everything, but certain things. And he was just so, I guess, intrigued or impressed by that. He said, if, the religion and your faith and your rabbi is such an important part of your business, and I'm here to potentially invest in your business or be involved in your business on some level, I really want to meet your rabbi. And for a second, I laughed because he lives in Israel. He lives in Beit Vegan in Israel, and he's usually never here. And then I literally remembered that he happens to be here, and he was leaving the day after they potentially wanted to shoot. So, we set it all up. And Marcus, aside from being, an astute businessman and having so much experience, he's such a wonderful human being. He's just such a wonderful human being, always willing to learn, very curious about other types of cultures, customs. And just to give you an example, I wish it was filmed, but while we were waiting for the rabbi, long story short, myself and my partner, Jacob, we met initially because we're both musicians, played concerts and weddings for many years. So, while we were waiting, he jumped on my piano and I had the guitar, and we ended up playing some beautiful Shlomo Carlebach Nagunim for Marcus. And it wasn't about business. It wasn't about why we're here. It was just the moment. And it was just so warming. And I really felt that this type of experience that we had that day showed such a different dimension to it. It's not only about money. It's not only about business. It's about respecting human beings, respecting and learning about other cultures. And it was just amazing watching the interaction between Marcus and my rabbi, who does not speak English. He understands English perfectly and can answer, minimally in English. He understood everything Marcus said. And sometimes we had to translate. And sometimes when Marcus would ask a question and the rabbi would answer, and we would go to translate, Marcus would say, I got it. I know what the rabbi said. So it was just really amazing. I can go on and on about different parts of the things, but I want to stay in my lane. And that was a wonderful experience.
So I'm praising the show, and it, in terms of checking off my boxes of humanity, and also it's not like the topic of the show was about a Jewish thing. You were businessmen running a successful business who happened to be Jewish. Sometimes things could get kitschy. The one complaint that I do have, and I think if we're doing a lot of praising, we can allow to call out one issue. I did not love the Hava Nagila in that rabbi scene, in the promo. And I think, with you playing the music that we actually listened to, it could have been an opportunity for the crew to say, oh, here's some music that we can incorporate into the scene. And I think, unfortunately, the Hava Nagila music is just so associated with Jewish characters at this point that we almost don't realize, I think, sort of production crews don't realize how sort of stereotypical or kind of tropey it is. I feel like it would be similar to if a Hispanic character walked into the scene and salsa music started playing, if an Asian character walked into the scene and a gong went off. Like there were probably times or tropey shows where something like that happened, but thank God we've moved to a point now where the music generally doesn't, follow the ethnicity or, background of the character in that way. For Jews, it still does. This is certainly not the only show where that happens. But if I could say sort of like my one complaint in terms of how the Jewishness was represented, I would have wished that, something else could have been played. But the fact that you guys did play that music, I think even in real life, you gave them a chance to see that, it's not just Hava Nagila and often not Hava Nagila. Are there any like behind the scenes sort of moments with the crew of like moments that you taught them something or moments where they expressed they didn't know that or that's beautiful? Is there anything like that that you can share?
Just to comment on what you just said, that promo reel came out. That was the number one message that I get. Most of the text said something like, Hava Nagila, really? So you're not the only one. It would have been nice if there was, something better
Nigga
played,
instead, right?
but I share there was a few moments that were very interesting. One of them was when one of the crew noticed that when any of us walked in and out of a room, we would kiss the mezuzah that's on the doorpost. And, they were like, I guess, mumbling between themselves. And then one had the charisma, the guts to ask me. And I explained to them what a mezuzah is and the shmirah, the watch, the blessing. It applies to a home, literally tears in their eyes. They're like, and you have this on every door? I go, yeah, in my house. And look around, you see, even they couldn't believe that. Another was emotional because it was coming towards the end of the process. And somebody who I work again on one of the members came over to me and said, I'm Jewish and I'm not, not that affiliated, etc. But just working with you guys and how you run your life I tried calling Saturday, there's no pickup, until everyone figured out. It really made me very proud of my heritage. It made me very proud of my Jewish heritage. And coming from somebody in the movie industry who's just, for them to say that, we must have impressed upon them something. And I don't say that with haughtiness. I say that with humility, because that's really what I set out to do. It was so important to me, Allison. We're living in such difficult times. This is a perfect it's a perfect scenario to give fuel, to add fuel to the fire. And we really try. And by the way, with that team and with Marcus, it was so easy to do because they were so warm, so respectful, and so willing to learn that it really wasn't that difficult, quite honestly.
So that's so beautiful to hear. And I think the thing about when you say it's said without haughtiness, the thing when the conduct of a Jew conducting themselves according to Torah values, or the way a piece of inspiring Torah sounds when it's shared, when people have the reaction of that's so moving, that's so beautiful, and I've gotten responses like that as well. We're just the vessel. We're just the messenger giving over something that is our heritage, but we didn't make it up. We didn't come up with this. It's an honor and a privilege to get the opportunity to be that ambassador, to be that vessel, to spread that light because there is so much shame associated with Jewishness. There's so much vilification associated with Jews. Knowing that, and when you're filming something like this, you never obviously know how the final cut is going to come out. And it's a scary thing because it's kind of your life and your reputation on the line with these people that are in a lot of control. I've always found that when I've worked with crews and we connect on that sort of spiritual level, and they see the beauty in my life and the joy and the meaning in my life, I've had such a sense of they're not going to mess me over. They're not going to do something and portray me in some sort of a unfair way because I've earned their respect. And while they may not live like I do, they value my lifestyle and they see the beauty in it. And whenever I've made a connection with a crew like that I've worked with, and I've done it a few times, the end product has matched that feeling. So it's amazing that you got this opportunity. It's incredible that you kind of took that chance because you didn't know the outcome. It's wonderful that the team was so open to learning and sharing these moments with you. And you should be so proud of the finished product.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was the fact, I never even thought about that. I guess, the fact that you work with people day in, day out, and you get to understand each other. They talk about their lives, you talk about yours. There's a bond, there's a relationship, there's a friendship that's built over these, X amount of weeks. And I never thought of that. Maybe that has a lot to do with how things ultimately pan out. But all in all, it was just a wonderful experience. And it was something that I think a lot of people can learn from the business side, how you analyze different parts of your business, and you need to know your numbers, and you have to have the right relationships with your employees and the people that you talk to. But overall, it was amazing. What you're doing is amazing. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you, my partners. We all went through it. My Jacob and Jonathan, Chai Goldberg, and just the production team. It was the perfect blend. And so far, I'm very thrilled with the outcome. And like they say, halavai weiter, which basically means it's all good, and we're looking forward to what this brings on every level, not only the business side, but opens to conversations. It opens to people understanding things. Maybe there are people out there that this will change their initial conception about Orthodox Jews. So all of that, I'm hoping, is all for a blessing.
It should be so. And I guess just sort of a closing message to the audience. The cameras don't need to be rolling for you to be an ambassador. We all have those opportunities in every interaction that we have. And so while we're getting clobbered on social media and in news media, and unfortunately in television and film a lot of the time, we have the opportunity to make those differences and make those impressions on a day-to-day basis. And that carefulness with which you spoke and conducted yourself as the camera was rolling. We have a director watching who's rolling the camera for every Jew, over the course of our lifetime. I was thinking about that as you said that. The camera is rolling for our lives and what we do here. And we should all kind of take a page out of your book now to conduct ourselves in the best way possible and try to be the best ambassadors we can be.
And there's so many opportunities, just holding a good morning to a cashier, holding the door open for somebody else. It's amazing sometimes when you just say, hey, good morning, you give somebody a smile, they like double take. You really do have so many opportunities, and we all have to be very cognizant of that.
Well, Aaron, we appreciate you and your team, kind of taking this brave stand to do this, and thank God it worked out well. And we wish you much hatzlacha in continuing to grow your business, and we look forward to munching on your popcorn at our next event.
Thank you so much, Allison. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and thanks so much for listening. You can catch us same time, same place next week.